നമസ്കാരം. ന്യൂസ്ലി മലയാളത്തിൻ്റെ വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ വാർത്തയിലേക്ക് ഏവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. സോറി, ഇന്ന് വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ വാർത്തയല്ല, പകരം +2 കെമിസ്ട്രി ക്ലാസ്സാണ്. കേരളത്തിലെ പ്രഗത്ഭനായ റിജു സാറാണ് ഇന്ന് കെമിസ്ട്രി ക്ലാസ് നടത്തുന്നത്. റിജു സാർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഭൂരിഭാഗം പേർക്കും മനസ്സിലാകും. ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൃത്യമായി മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ ഒന്നുകൂടി വ്യക്തമാക്കാം. തൃശ്ശൂർ റിജു ആൻഡ് PSKയിലെ റിജു സാർ തന്നെയാണ്. നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ക്ലാസ് കേട്ട് കൃത്യമായി നിങ്ങളുടെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങൾ അറിയിക്കുക, ആവശ്യമായ നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങൾ നൽകുക. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും സഹായങ്ങൾ ആവശ്യമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കമൻറ്റ് ബോക്സിൽ ഇടുക. കൃത്യമായ നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങൾ ലഭിക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. നന്ദി, നല്ല നമസ്കാരം.
Hi dear my children, me Riju Shankar, Director Riju and PSK classes. At the same time, I teach chemistry here. Now, you are in an intense level of preparation for your board examination as well as for competitive examination too. But immediately you have board examination, both +2 and the CBSE. So, to support your preparation, we introduce some question discussion sessions. Okay, anyway, prepare at its best. Look at your focus area, go through the focus area several times, then based on the focus area you do previously asked questions, and based on that one you can answer all the questions what they are going to ask in the examination. Okay, all the best. Hi dear my children, now go through the question. First one, see, they say that osmotic pressure is a colligative property. What do you mean by a colligative property? Properties of the solution which depend upon the relative amount of solute particles in the solution rather than on the nature. Properties which depend upon the relative number of solute particles in the solution. They are called colligative properties. 4 such colligative properties you studied. One of which is osmotic pressure, then depression in freezing point, elevation in boiling point, relative lowering of vapor pressure, of which the first question is based on osmotic pressure. You are asked to define osmotic pressure. What is osmotic pressure? See, you know the process of osmosis. What is osmosis? Osmosis is the phenomenon of net spontaneous flow of solvent molecules from solvent to solution or from a dilute solution to more concentrated solution through a semi-permeable membrane. It is called osmosis. Here they asked for osmotic pressure. So what is osmotic pressure? It is the minimum excess pressure that must be applied on the solution column to prevent the net process of osmosis when the solution is separated from its solvent using a semi-permeable membrane. We have, see, this is our solution and here it is your solvent, and this is semi-permeable membrane. This is the case. Now, there is an atmospheric pressure developed above the solution column as well as solvent. As you know, during osmosis, the solvent molecules, they move from solvent to solution. There is net flow of solvent molecules from solvent to solution. We have to prevent that one. To prevent that one, we must apply a pressure on the solution column. So, the minimum excess pressure that must be applied on the solution column to prevent the process of osmosis. To prevent the process of osmosis is called osmotic pressure. I think you cleared that one. This is solvent, this is solution. Both are separated by semi-permeable membrane. So there is net entry of solvent molecules from solvent to solution. We have to prevent that one. So we have to apply a pressure on the solution side. So osmotic pressure is defined as the minimum excess pressure that must be applied on the solution column to prevent the process of osmosis is called osmotic pressure. Clear? You have to write that one. Now what is expression for osmotic pressure? Pi is equal to Van der factor I into C into RT, where I is called Van der factor, C is called molar concentration of the solution, R is universal gas constant, temperature of the solution in Kelvin. Okay, so that is all about osmotic pressure. Whenever you write equation, you have to explain the terms one by one. Okay, then now the second case is you have a problem. The second problem is you have 1 gram of a solute, and that solute is a non-electrolyte. Non-electrolyte means it neither associate nor dissociate. There is no association nor dissociation. Okay, so we have an electrolyte, and that is dissolved in 50 gram of benzene. So what is benzene? Benzene is the solvent. So mass of the solvent is 50 gram. Now it will lower the freezing point of benzene by 0.40 Kelvin. So there is a lowering of freezing point called a depression in freezing point. How much depression it causes? 0.4 Kelvin. Now freezing point depression constant. What was freezing point depression constant? That is cryoscopic constant, indicated by the symbol Kf, and Kf is equal to 5.12 Kelvin kilogram per mole, asked for molar mass of the solute. Very fundamental question. Surely they have a tendency to ask this type of questions. Okay, now you see what was the relation connecting all these. Depression in freezing point, delta Tf is equal to, depression in freezing point delta Tf is equal to Kf into m. What is Kf? Kf is called a molar depression constant or cryoscopic constant, which is given here. Then m is molality of the solution, molality. Now you can modify this equation. Delta Tf is equal to Kf into, what is molality? Molality is number of moles of the solute dissolved per kilogram of the solvent. Dissolved per kilogram. W1 is the mass of the solvent in gram. To convert that one into kilogram, you divided by 1000. So 1000 comes in the numerator. So this is into 1000. Now you can modify that N2. What is N2 here? Delta Tf is equal to, you see, delta Tf is equal to Kf into, what is M? Molality. Molality is number of moles of the solute, N2. What is N2? W2 divided by M2. Mass of the solute upon molar mass of the solute. This is N2 divided by W1 into 1000. Now, whenever you do any kind of problem, you have to write down the equation. Thereafter, you have to explain the terms one by one. Kf is molar elevation constant. Kf is molar elevation constant. You have to explain that one. Then W2 is the mass of the solute in gram. You have to explain that one. Then M2 is molar mass of the solute, which we have to find out. And finally, W1 means mass of the solvent in gram. So Kf, cryoscopic constant, that is given there. Then W2, you have to explain the term one by one. W2, mass of the solute in gram. M2, molar mass of the solute in gram, which we have to find out. So M2 we have to find out. Then W1, what is W1? Mass of the solvent. How much mass solvent do we have? 50 gram. Now you have, after explaining these terms, you have to give the value for these terms according to the given data. So Kf is equal to, this is the next step. Kf is equal to 5.12 Kelvin kilogram per mole. That is Kf. Now W2 means mass of the solute in gram. How much solute? 1 gram. So we have 1 gram solute. Then what is M2? That we have to find out. Then what is W1? W1 is nothing but a mass of the solvent. What is the mass of the solvent? Mass of the solvent is nothing but a W1, that is equal to 50 gram. And to find out the molar mass of the solute, you must know delta TF, depression in freezing point. Delta TF is called depression in freezing point, and it is given as 0.4 Kelvin, 40 Kelvin. Okay. So except M2, all other terms are given. Delta TF is given, Kf is given, W2 is given, W1 is also given. Okay. Then you substitute here all these values with the unit, you substitute here, cancel all the like terms, and finally you will get a mass, molar mass of the solute in gram. Okay, whenever you substitute these values with the units and cancel all these units, and you will get a molar mass M2, molar mass of the solute in terms of gram. These are the steps you have to provide. How? Whenever you solve a problem, whatever may be the problem, you have to write down the equation. After writing down the equation, you have to explain each of these terms. Delta TF is depression in freezing point, Kf is called a molar elevation constant, W2 mass of the solute, like that you have to explain all these terms. Next step, you have to give the value for all these quantities in terms of the values given. Thereafter, you substitute the value in the equation with the units. Then you solve this one. Calculation means it quite easy you have. So you solve all this and you will get a molar mass with solute in gram. Okay. This is the method for doing any sort of problem, whether it is a problem from solution or electrochemistry or kinetics, whatever it may be. Problem solving means this is the method you have to adopt. Okay. Unit is very important. Finally, you have to write the unit also. Step by step unit also you must. Okay. Thank you. Now we are about to discuss the next question. That is a question from coordination chemistry. As you know, coordination chemistry is one of the most important topics for your examination, both the board as well as competitive examination. So you go through the question. See, they say that the magnetic behavior of a complex, it can be explained on the basis of valency bond theory up to a certain extent. Magnetic behavior. Actually, paramagnetism and diamagnetism, a well differentiated calculation cannot be given by valency bond theory, but some sort of explanation can be given by valency bond theory. That is what is meant here. Now, see, under that one, they have given two questions. Number one, they have given a complex CO NH3 6 times 3 plus, and they say that it is a diamagnetic complex. What do you mean by a diamagnetic complex? Yes, a complex or complex ion in which all the electrons on the central atom are paired. All the electrons are paired. Clear? No more unpaired electron. Such a complex is called a diamagnetic complex. Now, what do you mean by paramagnetic complex? Paramagnetic complex means a complex in which there are unpaired electrons. It is called a paramagnetic complex. Means diamagnetic substance means they are weakly repelled by the magnetic field, while paramagnetic substances are weakly attracted by the magnetic field. Now, substantiate the above statement using valency bond theory. You have to explain their magnetic character on the basis of valency bond theory. Such a question is written in your NCERT. So, first of all, any such a behavior they ask means we have to put the complex. So what is our first complex? It is an amine complex of cobalt. What is the complex of CONH3 6 times 3 plus? This is an amine complex. Now what is the central atom here? Cobalt. What is the oxidation state of cobalt? Ammonia. As you know, charge wise it is neutral. So what is the overall charge? 3 plus. So what will be the charge on cobalt? Cobalt will be in the plus 3 oxidation state. So we have cobalt 3 ion we have. Cobalt is in the plus 3 oxidation state. Now what is the atomic number for cobalt? Next step is you have to write down the atomic number for cobalt. Atomic number for cobalt Z is equal to 27. 27 means what is the outer electronic configuration? Outer means outer S and penultimate D configuration. It is 3d7 4s2. 3d7 4s2 is the configuration. Clear? Now this is the ground state electronic configuration for cobalt. Here we have cobalt 3 ion. Cobalt 3 ion means we have to remove 3 electron. Whenever you remove 3 electron means 2 of the 4s electron and 1 of the d electron you have to remove. So what will be the configuration of cobalt 3 ion? It is 3d 3d6 4s0. 4s 2 of the electron you have to remove and 1 more electron from the d level. So what will be the configuration? 3d6 4s0. Okay. Now we have to represent that one. See, cobalt 3 ion d6 configuration. Now d means as you know there are 5 d orbitals. So we have to write the box diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the box diagram for 3D level. Now you have 4s, there is one orbital here. Then in the 4s level, in addition to 4s, we have in the 4th level p also. This is the 4p level. Okay? Yes. Now there are 6 electrons in the d level. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and finally 6. This is the 6th electron here. Clear? Now they said that this amine complex is diamagnetic. So what is the configuration? 4 unpaired electrons are there. Presence of unpaired electron means the complex seems to be paramagnetic, but they say that it is a diamagnetic complex. So what should happen? These electrons should pair up. How? 4 electrons means 4 unpaired electron means they have to pair up. Once they undergo pairing up means the configuration goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these electrons are paired here. One pair, second pair, third pair. Clear? Yes. 3 pairs. 6 electrons means 3 pairs. Clear? Creating 2 d orbitals vacant. Now you have 4s and you have 4p. This is the case. See, what is the coordination number of this particular complex? Coordination number is 6. Whenever there is a coordination number of 6, the central atom must have 6 vacant orbitals in order to coordinate with the ligand. What are the ligands? Ammonia. Ligand means electron pair donor. So they act as electron pair donor means they have to donate the electron pair into the vacant orbital of the metal. Coordination number 6 means 6 vacant orbital must be there. There are 2 vacant orbitals here, third one here, fourth one here, fifth and sixth here. Clear? So what will be the state of hybridization? Hybridization will be D2sp3. 2d orbitals from here, 1 from 4s and 3 orbitals from 4p. So what will be the state of hybridization? D2sp3. D2sp3 means inner d orbitals are participating. D orbitals present in the inner shell. What is the outer shell? 4s and 4p. After 4p we will have 4d. 4d is the outer shell. So we don't want any 4d orbital here. We need only 6 orbital. We need only 6 orbital means we have 2 vacant d orbitals here. So 2 vacant d orbitals from the inner shell participate in the hybridization means hybridization is d2sp3. d2sp3 hybridization results into octahedral geometry. So all electrons are paired, it is a diamagnetic complex. Then 6 vacant orbitals are the d2sp3 hybridization, octahedral geometry. So whenever any question comes like this means you have to write down the first of all you have to write down the complex, then identify the oxidation state of the particular metal. Thereafter you write down the atomic number, Z equal to 27, so 3d6 4s2. After which you have to write down the atomic number means configuration of the metal ion after remove the electron, so it is d6. Thereafter you have to represent the box diagram. In the box diagram we have 4 unpaired electron. They say that it is diamagnetic, so what we have to do, all the electrons must be paired, so they pair together. Now you identify the number of vacant orbitals you see, so the state of hybridization will be d2sp3. Okay, inner d orbitals are participating in the hybridization means it is an inner orbital complex. That is why they asked classify the above mentioned complex into inner orbital and outer orbital. Clear? Whenever the d orbital of the inner shell are participating in hybridization or bond formation, then it is called an inner orbital complex. So d2sp3 cobalt hexammine complex ion, d2sp3 inner orbital complex. Similarly we have another complex here, that is cobalt fluorido complex, COF6, we have 3 minus. Fluorido, fluoride ion F minus. So 6 fluoride means 6 minus. Total charge 3 minus. So cobalt will be in 3 plus. So the oxidation state of cobalt in the given complex is cobalt 3 ion. Cobalt is in the plus 3 oxidation state. Now cobalt atomic number 27. Ground state electronic configuration is 3d7 4s2. Then cobalt 3 ion is present means configuration is 3d6. After which you have to write down the box diagram. So what is the box diagram? We have 5 d orbitals here, then s orbital here, then p orbital here, then again we have 4 d orbitals there. See, this is 3d, this is 4s, this is 4p, and finally this is 4d. Now we have d6. d6 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is d6. 4 unpaired electrons are there. They say that it is paramagnetic, means none of the electrons undergo pairing up. So there are 4 unpaired electrons. What is the coordination number? Coordination number 6. Coordination number 6 means 6 vacant orbital must be there. How many vacant orbitals? Already we have 1 plus 3, 4. Then you have to take 2 more d vacant orbitals from the 4d level. So what will be the hybridization? sp3d2. sp3d2 means the d orbitals present in the outer shell are participating. What is the outer shell? 4th shell. So which d orbital is participating? The d orbitals present in the outer shell is participating. Okay, so it is sp3d2 hybridization. Once it undergoes sp3d2 hybridization means the geometry will be octahedral. Presence of unpaired electron means the complex is paramagnetic. So we answer both the questions. Okay, you understood that one. Okay, thank you. Hi dear my children, now we have a question from organic chemistry. See, complete the following and write down the structure of A, B and C. The first question is CH3, CH2, CHO called a 3 carbon atom aldehyde. 3 carbon atom aldehyde means it is propanol. Propanol, that propanaldehyde is treated with a KMnO4. As you know, KMnO4 is an oxidizing agent. Once it is an oxidizing agent means it oxidizes this particular aldehyde into carboxylic acids. You studied that one. Primary alcohols are oxidized into aldehyde, they are further oxidized into carboxylic acids. Here it is aldehyde. So aldehydes are easily oxidized into carboxylic acids using KMnO4. So whenever you write down the first question, you have to write down like this. The given compound is propanol and KMnO4 is an oxidizing agent. KMnO4 oxidizes aldehydes into carboxylic acids. Here propanol is oxidized into propanoic acid. This is the first point you have to write it down. Okay. Thereafter you have to write all these things in terms of reaction. What is the first one? The given compound is an aldehyde and the reagent is KMnO4, which is an oxidizing agent. Here KMnO4 oxidizes aldehydes into carboxylic acids. Then you have to write down the equation. See, CH3, CH2, CHO. Above the arrow mark we must write KMnO4. And what happens to CHO? It is converted into COOH. CH3, CH2, COOH. Now after writing the equation, you have to specify the name of the organic compound. Okay, what is the first compound? Propanol. So you must write the name of that organic compound. Yes, propanol. Below this particular compound you must write. This is CH3, CH2, COH. What is it? CH3, CH2, C double bond OH. This compound is called propanoic acid. Propanoic acid. Okay, you must write down like this. After writing the equation, you must specify the name of the compound. Okay. Now second question is, this is butanon. CO group is the CO group is for ketone. So 4 carbon atom ketone, it is butanon. Anyway, it is butane 2-on. We have only butane 2-on, so no need to specify 2. This is simply butanon. And what is the reagent given? Zinc amalgam and concentrated HCl. So you must write like this. The given compound is a ketone called a butanon, and the given reagent is amalgamated zinc and concentrated HCl, which is the reagent for conducting reduction, and name of that reduction is Clemenson's reduction. You have to specify that name also. Reduction is Clemenson's reduction. In Clemenson's reduction, CO group is reduced into CH2 while CHO group is converted into CH3. You have to write down that one also. Now you write down the equation. We have CH3, CH2, CO, CH3. Compound name is butanon. You have to specify the name of the compound, butanon. Then we have amalgamated zinc and concentrated HCl. Which reduction? Clemenson's reduction. CO will be reduced into CH2. So we have CH3, CH2, CH2, CH3. Name of the compound is a hydrocarbon. 4 carbonate hydrocarbon we have butane. Clear? Yes. Now the third one. Third one is COH, a carboxylic acid. How many carbon atom? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbon atom carboxylic acid called a butanoic acid. Butanoic acid is treated with bromine and red phosphorus. Bromine and red phosphorus. You know, bromine and red phosphorus is a reagent for Hell-Vollard-Zelinsky reaction. Carboxylic acids with alpha hydrogen undergo halogenation in presence of bromine or chlorine and red phosphorus to form alpha halo substituted acids. Clear? This is called a Hell-Vollard-Zelinsky reaction, HVZ reaction. What is the given compound? Carboxylic acid. What is the alpha position? The group which is adjacent, carbon which is adjacent to COH is called alpha. Then what happens? One of the hydrogen goes and the halogen comes here. So replacement of hydrogen of the alpha position by a halogen to form alpha halo substituted acid is called a HVZ reaction. After writing that one, you simply write the compound. That is CH3, CH2, CH2, COH. You have to write down the name of this compound, butanoic acid. Butanoic acid treated with red phosphorus and bromine, followed by last step you have hydrolysis. Okay, you will get alpha halo substituted acid, bromine, then COH. Name of this compound is, COH is numbered as 1, second carbon is 1, so 2-bromo-butanoic acid. 2-bromo-butanoic acid. Clear? 2-bromo-butanoic acid. This reaction is called a Hell-Vollard-Zelinsky reaction. So you have to write down the wordings first of all, thereafter write the equation, then you give the name of the compound. Okay? And finally, IUPAC name of the compound we discussed so far. Now explain the following reaction, Cannizzaro reaction. You know Cannizzaro reaction? What is Cannizzaro reaction? Aldehydes or ketones. Aldehydes or ketones, isn't it? Yes. Without alpha hydrogen, undergo self oxidation and self reduction in presence of concentrated alkali is called Cannizzaro reaction. Aldehydes or ketones without alpha hydrogen undergo self oxidation and self reduction called disproportionation to form carboxylic acid and alcohol in presence of concentrated alkali. Suppose you have formaldehyde, this is called a methanol. Methanol is treated with the concentrated alkali, you will get a methanol and oxidized product is potassium methanoate. This is methanol and this is potassium methanoate. You must write the equation also. After writing the question in wordings, you must represent in the equation also. You have to write the product name methanol, then potassium methanoate or potassium formate. Then final one, esterification. Esterification means, you know, given organic acids reacts with an alcohol in presence of few drops of concentrated H2SO4 or dry HCl is called esterification, and that is to form ester. A given organic acid reacts with an alcohol in presence of few drops of concentrated H2SO4 or dry HCl to form the corresponding ester is called esterification. Then you write down the equation also. Simply write down the equation also. After explaining this one, you must write the equation, means reaction. CH3COH, acetic acid, then C2H5OH, ethanol, few drops of concentrated H2SO4. Then what happens? You will get a CH3COO, C2H5 plus water. This is ethyl acetate. This is acetic acid. This is ethanol. So you have to write down all these below the compound. This is ethanol. And what is the name of this compound? Ethyl acetate. Okay. This reaction is called a given organic acid reacts with an alcohol in presence of few drops of concentrated H2SO4 or dry HCl to form an ester is called esterification. Okay. Thank you.